And we're going to Good afternoon, everybody. We are going to go ahead and get started, and I would like to first congratulate everybody on the line who is an awardee of the 2017 National PTA STEM Plus Family Science Grant sponsored by Bayer. Congratulations, everybody. There were more than 700 PTAs altogether, including local, regional, district, state, that applied for these grants. So you are in elite company. We are delighted. Each of your applications was reviewed by at least 2 people, and we are delighted to be working with you to hopefully make these awesome science festivals happen. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Let me just, a couple of housekeeping things. This webinar will be recorded and available afterwards. It might take us a couple of days to get it up, a day or 2 to get a YouTube link. The PowerPoint will also be emailed to you and will be available online. There is you can ask questions. I see 1 or 2 people already doing that. We're going to talk about this a little bit more, but there's a question panel. Let's jump right in to give you a preview of where we're headed.
Hi everybody, I just want to second the congratulations. This is Alyssa. I've been speaking with most of you online, and I want to thank everybody for being so great about getting their award letters to us and the W-9s and the ACH forms. So we're going to talk about everything today, starting with a brief overview of our agenda. So you'll notice that there's 4 main talking points and a 5th little bonus at the end there. So we're going through the welcome and congratulations right now. We'll then move into a toolkit overview, and we'll do a walkthrough with photos of what the Science Festival will look like. We'll go over some logistics, and then we'll have a little break for questions. And if you're not a regional PTA, you can go ahead and leave us there. If you're a state, district, regional winner, we'll have about 15 minutes at the end to just dedicate to spend on specific questions for your grant.
Yeah, thanks, Alyssa. I forgot to mention that because we already had 1 or 2 questions come in about the length. So if you are a local PTA, in other words, if you're one of our 30 PTAs that won a local grant, we are going to wrap this up, do our best to wrap this up by about 1:45. Then if you are one of the regional or state grant winners, we know there might be a few more questions. The requirements are a little bit different, so we're going to stay another 15 minutes. So again, if you're one of the 30 local PTA winners, this webinar will be over by 1:45. And we're going to ask that the district, region, and state winners stay on an extra, there's 5 of you, that you stay on an extra 15 minutes until 2 o'clock. Now, don't worry. As I said before, there's a question session. There's a question option, and you can also email Alyssa at any point. We're going to include her email address. But let's, who are we? We've been congratulating you. We're delighted to have you with us. Who are we that we're welcoming you?
So the picture you have up there is actually from my thesis defense this past spring. So I've been with National PTA for a little over a year now. Started out as the Reflections Fellow. So if any of you have run the Reflections program, you might have corresponded with me in the past. This year I am on as project manager for programs and partnerships. So I help Sean with the science festivals. I'll also be working on some of the tech festivals if we move towards that direction, and Take Your Family to School Week this year.
And that is me that you see there on the right. I'm not. Hopefully, nobody was confused between who was Alyssa and who was Sean. But just in case, that's me on the right. Some of you I may have seen or may have seen our Facebook Lives, both announcing the grants and announcing the winners. So you may be aware of the incredible, successful dad jokes that I try and that everyone groans at. So I don't know if we have very many worked in here today, but that's me on the right. We're delighted to have you with us. I am Senior Manager of Education Initiatives and doing a lot of stuff with STEM and families right now. Okay, so this is just a quick overview to the tools you see in front of you. Everybody should have a screen in the top right, and you can see we've circled where to ask questions in red. And you just type in your question there, and it will even give you the option of sending it privately or available to everyone. Alyssa and I will make sure to answer any questions, even after the webinar, so you can, if you need to stay around a minute or two longer. You will note that everybody is on mute except for us. So Alyssa and I can speak, and we put people on mute. Just, previous experience we found from everyone coughing, getting a drink. We know we have at least a couple of attendees that are in the school library. You don't have to worry about people behind you making noise. So you're on mute. If we need to open that up later, we can, but we hope that by letting you type in questions, you will be able to put forward anything you're uncertain of. All right. I am going to move on now. We are going to, let's look at our agenda. The welcome and congratulations. We're going to talk about the toolkit, and then we're going to do a walkthrough. We think photos might be really helpful for everybody. I know when I was a teacher, and even when we were thinking of these STEM nights, being able to think about and being able to see them are different things. So we're going to show you some pictures from some of our pilot events. Alyssa's going to come back on. We're going to run through a bunch of logistics. We know there's a lot of moving pieces. And then that'll wrap up by about 2:45 Eastern, as we have said. Now, quick reminder before we go, there's a lot of information ahead. We know that. Our goal was to give you as much information as we could. We're going to make this PowerPoint available, and we're going to make this webinar available. We don't expect you to spend your entire holiday season planning your science festival, but maybe in between baking cookies and talking about eggnog and elves and where to hide the elf on the shelf, you could take a couple of minutes to line up some volunteers, start picking some dates, things like that. All right. We're going to give you an overview of everything. So
the general overview of National PTA's STEM Plus Families. Hopefully you guys are familiar with these things, but it's just a really beautiful slide that we like to share. So National PTA STEM Plus Families initiative increases access to STEM education and careers, especially among underrepresented youth, by developing, evaluating, and sharing effective ways to engage families in STEM experiences, while working with partners to improve access to STEM, school, and community learning environments. So we know the facts are clear. STEM education equals career opportunities. And these figures here are ones that we use, so please feel free to share those whenever you're talking about the program.
Yeah, by the way, if anybody wants any of these slides, the reason we are not sending you the whole thing as a PowerPoint or posting it online as a PowerPoint is just because it gets too large. That's the only reason. But we are happy to send you, if you have a Gmail address or an email address that doesn't have a limit on file size, or we can send you individual slides. We will absolutely work with you. So if you see anything here you'd like to do in your presentations, please feel free. Just to follow up on the STEM Plus families that Alyssa is introducing, we did math nights in the fall, right? And we had a competitive, that was our partnership with Mathnasium, and we had 35 math nights, and now we're doing Bayer Science Festivals, and we're going to be doing a total of 40 PTA events. There's 30 at the local level and 5 state winners. And then we're hoping to also do technology nights and then down the road engineering. So you are the second round of the actual grants. And let's take a quick reminder. Alyssa's going to give us just a real quick reminder of what the obligations are. This is very, very high level.
So this is just a reminder of what you would have seen in your award letter, right? So everyone who has received a local grant is required to host one science festival this spring, so from January 1st through June 30th. There will be materials and information provided in our online toolkit. The link is typed out there as well, and you guys have received that link in your email. So your PTA is on duty to supply the space, volunteers, food, and prizes for the event. We are providing you with all of the materials to help you plan your event, to plan the activities, to recruit volunteers, and to really make the event a great success.
Yeah, and it's critical to know here that, you know, we've tried to give you templates online, and that's where the pta.org/stem/science/toolkit, and we'll walk you through that a little bit later. But we've tried to give you everything we could think of, you know, that people from past events and people who've given us, you know, PTA leaders around the country who've given us feedback and said, hey, I need this, or hey, I need this translated, or hey, I want a template for this. We try to provide you with as much of that stuff as possible. You might not use the whole toolkit. In fact, you probably won't. But our goal is that when you need a resource, it's available in the toolkit so you don't have to worry about designing it yourself. You know, and it might have a nice STEM Plus Families logo on it already. You can drop your PTA's logo in there as well, and then boom, use the template letter. We've got everything, letters to invite parents to join. We've got sign-up sheets. And we've got some really critical stuff you're going to need to make your night happen. We'll talk more about this down the road, especially in the photo carousel coming up. But we're going to I think each PTA, you know, you probably need to try to recruit 15 volunteers. And I know that can be kind of a high number, but we're hoping that every night, every science festival will have about 10 experiment tables, maybe more even, and we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But you probably want one PTA volunteer or adult to run each experiment table. And don't worry, we've got facilitators guides, we've boiled it all down, like you don't need, no prior science expertise needed. We've made it incredibly simple, and we're also going to send you most of the supplies. But the PTAs, right, we do what we do very well. We convene, we make it a welcome space for all kids and families, and then in this case, the PTA is actually going to be leading the experiments at the tables. Now, there's a little bit of a catch, and Alyssa and I will talk about that. The person who is leading the experiment at the table, their only job is to read a sheet of paper. Yep, we've got a facilitator's guide. The parent and the child actually do the experiment. A couple of them have a little bit of prep work too, which is why we recommend doing the experiments beforehand if you have the time. All right, let's keep going. What are the goals of this science festival?
So our science festival goals are family engagement. We want to involve students and families in a fun, enjoyable, shared science experience. So what Sean was just talking about, these facilitators guides that you'll have for every single activity, really break down each science experiment so that a parent and child can do the experiment successfully together and share in the experience of whatever that activity is. So we're helping families to explore science at their own levels through these activities, and we're also empowering kids of all backgrounds to become interested in STEM education and careers. So we're going to start walking through that toolkit a little bit. If you've already had the chance before to go online, this will be the page that you see when you log on to the toolkit. So you'll notice that, and if you have the capability, you can go to the toolkit yourself right now. So you'll notice that the sheet is compressed so that you can open up each different set of steps along the way. So that way, if you're looking for a specific document, you can think about where that document might be under and then pop it out. So when you log into, Sean is showing us the pta.org/STEM/science page.
How cool is this technology, by the way? I'm showing you live, walking you through a website, and we're actually going to take a look. So if you went to pta.org/STEM/science, you can see it up there.
So on this page, this is the general overview, and you can get the link to the toolkit here. You can also just type in pta.org/STEM/science/toolkit to go directly to the toolkit. But what's cool about this page is it also links you to the original Making Science Make Sense experiments. So if you're looking for any other extensions or activities that we don't have included, there might be some other things that you can do through Making Science Make Sense that we haven't worked out as facilitators guides yet, but we do have 15 guides that'll be completely done for you. So if you click on that link to the toolkit, you'll now see what we saw before in the slides, where these drop downs are. So everything has been organized into easy to access areas, kind of going along with where you'll be in the timeline of planning and hosting and preparing for your event. So if you were to open any of those, they'll break out. So you'll see Making Connections. This is where you'll find tools that help you talk with people, planning your event. These are the tools that help you prepare for things. So this is where any planning checklists are, volunteer sign-up forms, sample budgets, letters to help solicit volunteers and donations. The facilitators guides are here, as well as the materials list that you'll need.
And let me pause for a second, Alyssa, just because I want to highlight here some of the questions we're getting already from folks. Provided materials list. So if you click on this, and you know what, I'll actually do that now. It's going to pull up a Word document, because if you remember, we said that we were going to send you some materials, and guess what? This is the list of materials that we're going to send to each PTA. Everybody should have received an address, you know, a confirmation around the shipping address. Here's what we're going to send to you. So this will be showing up in boxes at your whatever, I would say school, but whatever address you gave us. And we're going to try to shoot to get this to you about 3 weeks before your actual event, right? Because everyone knows that they're sending a list of the update on when you schedule your event. We will send you this materials about 3 weeks before. And so this is most of the materials you will need. It is not all. It is most of the materials you will need. And it is most of the materials you will need to do each of the 10 experiments 50 times. So if you think there's 2 people, maybe 3 people doing an experiment at once, maybe if it's an older brother or a grandma and a student, or maybe it's a mom, dad, and student, that would be 3 people doing an experiment once. So we've given you enough materials to do an experiment 50 times. So if you think you're going to have more than 100 or 110 people doing each experiment, you might need to get some more of this stuff. Okay. Let's look back at, you will see, provided materials list, and then look, materials for your PTA to gather. So this tells you exactly what your PTA needs to make happen to make the 10 experiments happen 50 times. And what we did here is we tried to pick things that, you know, I've got a lot of this stuff in my garage. And if you can talk somebody going into the garage to get it out, and it's also a great opportunity to encourage your spouse to clean out the garage, right? Let's go in there and find those plastic tablecloths, and while you're in there, clean out 17 years worth of accumulated stuff. No, just get the soda bottles and come right out. But this is a lot of stuff that we thought PTAs would have on hand. So we're hoping you won't have to actually buy it. All right. And we had some questions. You see the facilitator guides here? This is really, really important, because this is, remember we said there were guides that were going to be, that all your facilitators had to do was read the guides. Guess what? These are they. So we'll just take a look at one. And what I want to point out now is there are 10 of them on here under suggested activities. These are the 10 activities that we think most PTAs are going to want to do, because they are easiest to understand, they're the most impactful for students, they're the least resource driven. You know, we had several reasons, but we think that PTAs, take a look at these 10 first. And we have facilitators guides for you. Down here, we also have facilitators guides for these extra 6 activities. Now these ones are very good as well. And if you have enough PTA volunteers, or if you have enough tables to do 16 activities, do all of them. I mean, look, we know all the students love making and then eating their own ice cream. It's just, we also know, like, this experiment requires getting some ice and some milk and cream. There's different, it's a little bit, you know, might be a little more intense, but if you've got a parent that wants to do it, go ahead. So these are the 16 experiments total. We recommend starting with these 10, but we defer to your PTA and whatever ones you want to do. Let's take a look at, for example, dancing raisins. This is one, and Alyssa and I tested these out. Look at this. This is the facilitator's guide. Our goal here was to build something that it tells you everything you need to do. Here's what and in a simple way. Here's the materials. Look at this. We even put in a video. So if your PTA volunteer shows up 5 minutes before the science festival, your PTA volunteer can watch that video and see exactly how the experiment should happen. Here's the instructions to prepare your station. And then look on the second page. We give you questions to ask the participants. So, you know, when mother and son show up at your table, you ask them, what do you think is going to happen when we mix everything on the table? Right? Because we want to get them sort of thinking about it ahead of time. And I'm sure we've got a lot of teachers that are listening on, or parents who know, like, this is good in terms of priming students to learn, priming our kids to learn. Yeah, we're trying to put some learning in here and making it fun as well. And then here's the instructions. And your facilitator will read the instructions. So the facilitator will say to the student, pour 1.5 cups of water into the plastic bottle. Then the adult, the facilitator will read to the adult, add 1 heaping teaspoon. So what we've done here is we've set it up so that the facilitator will be reading, and the student and adult who are participating, they will be doing the mixing. And they will both have to be doing it. There's no parent hanging back working on their iPhone or talking to somebody else. We are making them have fun together. Then down at the bottom, we've got a little easy to understand science explanation. We've even got some vocabulary and a real world application. I know this is a lot to take in right now. We have really tried to think through what would be most helpful to our PTA volunteers, and we've tried to make this as self-contained as possible and as easy to follow. So these facilitator guides are what you're going to use, what your PTA volunteers will use at each station. And I'm going to, and like we said, there's 16 of them here. We recommend starting with these 10. I'm going to go back to the toolkit, and Alyssa's going to talk us through a couple more things that are on there. And then we're going to look at some photos of what a night looks like. Again, because we want this toolkit to be a resource for you. So where do you want to start now, Alyssa?
Just wanted to point one more thing out under the planning. So you had the lists of materials that we're sending out in our starter packs, the materials that you'll need to gather. If you're interested in doing those 6 optional extension activities, there's a list already done there for you as well. So you'll be able to have all of those lists. If there's any experiments that you want to multiply on the large level of redoing everything, that's already there for you. So if you look in here, we also have things to help you promote your events under step 3. We've got your social media toolkits, your media advisory, your press release template, the STEM Plus families, and Bayer National PTA logo that you can use on any of your documents. There's a sample flyer there. Please make sure that you're using these things because we're really excited to be able to share them with you. There we go. And we'll look at a couple of these more within the photo walkthrough.
You should insert your own local PTA logo. These are just, again, if this helps make it easier for you to have a promotion, things to hang up. I mean, I've seen some PTAs who have graphic designers and have done some amazing stuff promoting their events on social media, on Facebook, and we've actually taken their examples and worked them into some of the stuff you'll see a little bit later.
And then lastly, if you're going to be looking here, you have host your event and wrapping up your event. So we'll look a lot at the hosting your event in the photo walkthrough. You'll see that there's the student passport here. Most PTAs spoke about wanting to use a passport at their event, so we have ones that are provided for you. There's a parent version and a student version to encourage them going through each activity together.
Yeah, and what you would do, the idea is that, you know, we added a parent passport so that the parents would do the activities and get, you know, this, you can have stickers or have somebody sign or a punch card, whatever you want, but these passports are here. You can print them in color or black and white. And what we recommend, what we've seen be really successful, is at the beginning of the event, whoever the PTA leader is, that person says, okay, any student who turns in a passport with 10 stamps is going to be entered in, and there's lots of different ways to do this. The PTAs out there, you know this better than I. I mean, you can say everybody's going to get a pencil or a pack at the end of the night, or everyone's going to be entered in a raffle, and you can use some of your award money to buy some gifts that students would be like, whoa, that's awesome. And guess what? The other part that we're suggesting is buy a raffle so the parents are going to actually want to complete all the events with their kids and get their 10 things stamped. I remember I was at an event at one of our great schools down in Florida, and they had a restaurant night. It was a adult restaurant, and the parents there, when they heard, oh, I can win, it was something like $100. They got a local restaurant to donate maybe $100 or $150 restaurant meal at the restaurant. And when the parents heard that, they were like, whoa, we're going to definitely complete these activities. So this is just, again, a resource, the parent passport, student passport, if it's helpful.
And then with wrapping up your event, if you remember from your award letter, we've asked that you send us the copies of the surveys that parents and students take during the event, so that you'll see them here at the bottom. We are waiting on the translations of these, but we will have these translated as well. So these you can print out so that every parent, every student who attends completes the survey, and then you're sending these surveys to us so that we can make sure that we are providing the best possible events, and if there's anything that we can make better, we can make it better.
Yeah, and as Alyssa, it's really important to us. We want to gather feedback from y'all. We did a pilot event in Northern Virginia, and we've done some pilots with Microsoft and with Mathnasium and Summit Bayer conventions. But you are really the first group to be taking these science festivals out into the schools, and especially doing it by yourself. So we want to learn, is there anything we could do to help make this happen more smoothly? Are there things we could do to be more clear, to be better? Are there more resources? We really do want feedback. This is not static. We really appreciate y'all taking the leap with us and being the first ones out there.
And then just to keep going with that, you'll notice that the program leader feedback form is not on there. You will be receiving a direct survey link, because that'll be the feedback from you about your experience running this event. So that way we can make sure that we are providing the best support to program leaders as well. So those will be two different surveys. That's the one that's public for parents and students, and the one that we will send directly to you in your email.
So that was the toolkit. I hope that you're looking at it going, wow, there's lots of stuff up there. Everything from letters to parents to sample flyers. Let's remember some of the most important things up here are going to be the facilitators guides, right? Because that's what you're actually going to want to print out. And we've got some flyers. Here's a flyer template. We also have, if you want to do Facebook, if you want to do anything like that, if you want to contact your local newspaper, let's do it. And then we've got the surveys down at the end. All available in the toolkit. I'm going to leave the toolkit now. We're going to take a look at some pictures from a night to hopefully help you be able to envision how this is going to look in your school a little bit better. So let's move away from the toolkit. Again, it's pta.org/STEM/science/toolkit. Alyssa ran through these 5 the different things. We've seen, I know, preaching to the choir, a lot of PTAs out there, right? When we meet, we eat, is the phrase. And this is an example of, I think that was food from Noodles and Company that one PTA did that went over really well. And you know your cafeteria, you know your school. Should we be doing a separate food area? Do you want to do food first? I've seen PTAs do a really successful an ice cream truck, so it's just dessert. We've seen all sorts of things. Don't forget, you're each getting, Bayer and National PTA are providing everyone with $1,000. So that hopefully would cover, if you need translators, if you need transportation, if you need food, if you need prizes, you can use that money however you think is best to make sure your whole community is invited and feels welcome. I mean, we all know that we can't use the money for, what are the PTA prohibition? Alcohol, guns, and tobacco, I think. But you know what? Hopefully that wasn't even a question that anyone was going to ask. So let's get into a little bit more of the photo.
So we're going to move through this kind of quickly because it's just giving you guys overview of what things should look like. So right here is a photo of actually one of the Bayer scientists at a pilot event doing one of the activities. This is the strawberry DNA, which we do not have as one of our facilitators guides, but it's an easy one if you want to pull up the Making Science Make Sense curriculum, and you see a picture of the Making Science Make Sense curriculum there as well. So moving through to the next slide. Want to make sure that you guys are finding an event space that is big enough to have everything. So think about how to make the event welcoming and comfortable for adults and kids, right? We want to make sure adult size seating says this event is for you too, so everybody is comfortable in this space. And it's a space that will support activities that are slightly messy at times.
Okay. So let's go back to, you've seen the template online for the flyer. Here's an example of one that actually, it's a real life one. You can see the STEM logos. If somebody wants that, it's online, right, Alyssa? Mm-hmm. That one's online. I loved reading a lot of your applications where you talked about how you would really welcome families, everything from working with the mascot to handing out flyers and advertising in the car pickup line. There were remote calls home, there were principals, there were assembly, there were so many great ideas. I'm really looking forward to seeing how we invite everyone. You're definitely going to want to check your supply list and supplies received. So let me just run through that again just to make sure we're clear. National PTA is going to send you almost everything you need to do 10 experiments and to do them 50 times. You still need to gather some other stuff like there's some tablecloths. And I actually had a great suggestion here in the question booth where somebody said, somebody said they're going to use leftovers from the book fair. Jenny Blondie said, I don't know if I should, I'm giving her credit, right? I can say her name, so thank you, Jenny. Leftovers from the Scholastic Book Fair, that's great for tablecloths, so boom. You don't even need it. You don't need us to send those. But the other stuff should be gatherable. You want to make sure you're able to get all the supplies. Again, we're sending you what you need to do each experiment, each of the 10 experiments, 50 times, most of what you need to do each one 50 times. So you will need to gather some extra supplies, and then if you think you're going to have lots more people than that, you might want to purchase some more things, or if you want to do some of the extra experiments, you might want to get some extra supplies. Hope that's clear. Again, we'll take questions on it. So this is before the event. You've promoted the heck out of it. You've got all your supplies set up. You got your tablecloths from the book fair. And I love this idea too from Marcy. Marcy, and you know what, Marcy? You have had a better idea than I even put out there. So I want to give Marcy Roth credit. She's talking about how I am promoting as parents as the leads, but she specifically wants parents as non-parents to lead at each table so the parents can do the activities with their kids. Marcy, you're taking my job. Don't come down here anytime soon because they'll give it to you, because that's exactly what we want, Marcy. If you can get non-parents, if it's teachers, people from the high school, college kids, one PTA even had the idea they were going to get a local school, they were going to partner with them and get the PTA from the other school to come down and staff their science night. Because then you can go through the science night with your kid and you can do the experiments at every table, at every booth. That's what we want. Yeah, and then you flip around and you show up and go down and staff the tables at the other school's science night. So absolutely, thanks Marcy for bringing that up. Would love to see people have non-parents staff the tables if possible. We know every PTA's got their own, we all have challenges. We're trying to get different people down here on different nights. Let's pick a night when we can get lots of people, even non-parents, down so the parents can do the activities with their own kids.
So the night of, you're going to want to make sure that you are welcoming volunteers to your space to help you set up beforehand. So the picture that we have here actually has volunteers from Coles Cares. So as Sean was talking about and Marcy was talking about finding volunteers who aren't parents, we also have a document in the planning section of the toolkit that helps with ideas on how to find non-parent volunteers. But we want to make sure that they know their roles when they arrive and where to report. So inside the day of agenda that talks about how to break out this time so you can make sure that you're supporting the volunteers, as well as if you are a PTA that happens to be close enough to a Bayer where you'll be able to work with Bayer representatives. We will be reaching out to Bayer and to you to make those connections. But if you think that you have a connection at a local Bayer facility, please feel free to go ahead and contact their community liaison as well. So if you have a specific volunteer that's assigned to you, you would be welcoming them the same time that you welcome all of your other volunteers, because they will be there to help with the event as well.
Yeah, one of the reasons Bayer was so supportive of this, and we really appreciate it, is, you know, their employees want to be able to give back in the communities where they are. And we have some PTAs that are fairly near a Bayer. So what we're going to do is we will put you in touch. We're working with, you can see Diane Koval in the black short sleeve sweater there and the gray pants on the left side of the picture. Diane is one of our great contacts at Bayer, the Bayer Foundation, and does a lot of social justice and community outreach. So we're going to work with Diane. We are going to see if there's a Bayer near you, and if so, we'll put you in touch and we'll say, hey, because sometimes Bayer has a community engagement team that they go out and do this stuff, and they would love to come and help and staff a couple of those tables. So that would solve, you know, what Marcy and I were just talking about. The parents could then, you know, the more, if you're able to get Bayer volunteers, they might be able to help out and work those tables so your PTA parents can go through and enjoy. So again, that will be for the PTAs that have Bayers nearby, which we recognize is not everybody. But we were giving you all the stuff to support that anyway.
So this is just a simple assemble the awards table. You all should be receiving 6 Think Fun games from our partnership with Think Fun. If you watched any of the Facebook Lives, Think Fun was with us there. I know that a couple of the PTAs have already told me that they've received those games, which is great. So you can use those as some of your prizes, and also gather prizes from local businesses as well that you could be using here. This is where you could use those passports to turn in to get prizes at the event, the end of the event.
Yeah, and so we have, if anyone did not get, the Think Fun games have already shipped, is that correct? So you should have gotten a 6-pack from Think Fun. That was courtesy, you know, they're making, they put the fun in thinking, and they're one of our help sponsors, STEM and Families. They're really excited about getting, you know, working with you all to help make the STEM, the science festivals, even more fun and rewarding. And then we've seen parents go out and PTA leaders purchase anything from, you know, they've gotten donations. They've purchased STEM-related games, even some additional Think Fun games. I mean, you've got $1,000 for food and prizes. It's, you know, it's a good way to incentivize. It's a good way to incentivize people to complete the passports. Okay, we're going to speed up a little bit here because we did promise to have you off by 2:45. Let me just remind everybody the PowerPoint will be available online. Also, we will answer any questions, Alyssa and I, even if it takes. You know, if we need to jump on email, hit you up later. So, you know, we will be here, and you've also going to have Alyssa's email. So follow up with us just in case. But we do want to have, by 2:45, we want to have everyone on the local level free to go. Don't worry, though. We don't need to. We've covered a lot of this content. So what you're hearing now that we're kind of speeding through is just, it's repeat, and it's, you know what, Alyssa and I, when we designed this PowerPoint, we wanted it to be standalone, so that, you know, we know some of you are going to be reviewing this every day over the holiday season, and this will be your New Year's Eve, will be to review the PowerPoint, the webinar. But some of you will be coming back to it in 2 or 3 weeks, and that's okay. We hope it'll stand alone. All right, so we've got the awards table at your night. Do a volunteer huddle, right? Remind them that this is engagement. Parents can't stand back. Parents, that's actually Bill, one of the founders of Think Fun right there, speaking about some of the Think Fun games. Remind the volunteers, whomever they are, that parents need to be involved. There's our facilitators guides, right? Have each volunteer go out to their station, read through the facilitators guide, make sure they're familiar with their station. And for some of them, for 3 of them, we have videos. This was something new. You're asking, why do we only have 3 videos? Well, because we just tried this idea out this year, and we were told that videos, parents, facilitators seeing the video might make it really easy to envision what's going to happen. So we've got 3 of them for you. Families are arriving, right? Sign-in sheet, that's really key, right? You want to get some information. People might have questions about the PTA. It's probably where you're going to pass out your passports, that kind of thing. welcome all families. We have signs up to encourage families to participate and remind them about family engagement.
And there are family engagement signs that you can post and print straight off of the toolkit. You don't even have to think of what to write. So eating dinner, we were talking before about making sure that when we meet, we eat. It's just a great way to get families out, and we've seen lots of success at events where dinner is provided. So once the festival begins, right, you want to welcome students and family members into the area where the stations are and to explain with them how to move through the passports and how to go to each station. But really the festival, once it starts, is when all the fun and action gets going. Yeah, and
I love this photo for a couple of reasons. This was taken at our Durham event that our Mighty Durham, it was this PTA piloted. And it's volunteer. This is where you put a needle through a balloon, and you can see this. You can see the kid. He thinks it's going to pop, and hopefully it doesn't. But it's just great. Another reason I like this photo is because it was taken by a local media member, and we've seen a lot of PTAs have success. You reach out and say, hey, the PTA is organizing a science festival. Send a photographer down. Let's get some coverage, right? Let's promote some of the positives that are happening in our school. And you know what? I'm okay. Let's get some positive press for PTA. We're making a difference here. We're trying to close the STEM gap. We're doing activities that are engaging to students and that teach them the critical thinking and the skills they need to succeed. Yeah, I'm okay. Let's get us some press. And let's talk about students and schools doing things in a good light.
And there is a media advisory template for you in that toolkit so that you could just plug and play your event date, time, location, and send it on out. So power of play, so it's just these next couple of slides are just looking at the various stations that you could have. This specific picture is a different partnership. So if you have a local college, high school, any sort of robotics program that might be nearby, it's a great opportunity to invite them to come and to work with the students as well to expand really the outreach of the STEM event into the community.
It's a good point, and thank you, Alyssa, for bringing that up. This was actually the Army engineers. We were both at this event, and you can see it, they had an activity where you saw how many pennies you could put on a foil boat before it floated, and it went to some pretty complex scientific concepts around flotation and weight bearing and those kind of things. You are allowed, we've had a lot of questions, you may invite in high school groups, community groups, you may invite in local nonprofits, you can invite in museums. Unfortunately, you cannot have any other for-profit groups at the Bayer event, and that was part of our deal with Bayer when we started. Because there's lots of PR issues and who what if something didn't go exactly as per. There's lots of issues. I'm happy to talk with anyone offline about it, but we would love to see you invite in high school robotics clubs, community groups, local churches. The Army Corps of Engineers here did something. We have a group, it's called SHAPE, the Society of Hispanic American Professional Engineers, I think in the DC area. They have branches. There are branches, any nonprofit, think about that, but no for-profit, unfortunately. Passport, this is what Alyssa was talking about. Change stations, engage as a family, you know about this. Have fun with science, that's one of our, which one is that? Is that the, they're not making slime there. Is that the acid base one they're doing there?
That is a different one.
Okay. And then here's our survey forms at the end, right? Because we want to get better. So oftentimes a PTA might have 10 stations, and 10th station might be a survey. So you would pick your 9 favorite experiments that you like and put your 10th one in as a survey. And then when they turn that survey in, they can be eligible for another prize.
Also, if you're really afraid that you might have a big overflow of people, one of the suggestions of looking at this is having the 15 stations but only requiring 9 to be completed. That way every family doesn't have to do the exact same 9 stations within the event if you're going for 16.
Okay. That's me actually pulling prize names at the end there. Oh my goodness, those kids were so, and you know how much fun it is to give away prizes to kids who are excited? I think we all know that. And Bayer and National PTA, happy to give you money to make that happen. So the prizes at the end, this is us thanking Dr. Frank from Bayer here, who, brilliant man, neuroscientist, I think, came out and helped do one of the Bayer stations in Northern Virginia. which was absolutely wonderful. You know, and we do what PTAs do, right? I mean, this is, you know, we clean up afterwards. I mean, we don't need to do anything like that. We don't need to tell you about that. This is an example of the videos that we mentioned, right? Remember we said in the facilitators guides there are 3 videos, and the videos show it from the perspective of the facilitator. So this is the Dancing Raisins one. There's a link to it. The facilitator would just type this in and watch this 3-minute video, and it would show them how their experiment's going to happen.
For the experiments that we didn't have the ability to produce videos for yet, we were able to link to either the Bayer-provided videos, so there are videos that go along with them, other nonprofit videos that match with the experiment, or we provided a little bit more information as to the science behind the experiment so that a volunteer may be able to understand and discuss more beforehand.
Okay. Next few slides, folks, repeating everything. So I don't want to, again, we put it in here. Alyssa and I designed this PowerPoint, so when you go back to it, it would stand alone. You've seen this, I think, 3 times now. Our flyer, which is, again, available for you to modify online. You've seen, this is our reminder, some things to think about. We've talked about the supplies. We're getting a bunch of questions around the supplies. We'll try to answer those. Alyssa had one suggestion around you don't need to, every person doesn't need to do every experiment. And then we are going to figure out, can we share our Amazon list with the groups? If they want to order more of the supplies we're sending them, how would they do that?
I can't share the list that we use because it's tied into our
top secret account?
Yeah, unfortunately. But the lists that you have on there will have the links to the Amazon supplies that we're purchasing.
Okay, so we have a document, and what's that document called? Do you know off the top of your head? It's on the toolkit?
Yeah.
And so if you look around there, there's a list there, and it will have Amazon links to even to the materials we're already sending out to PTAs. So if you need to order more supplies, you'll be able to do that. I'm trying to respond to questions here as we're going along. If you did not get your Think Fun games yet, please email us. We will follow up on that. They should have gone out. They did go out already. You should have received them. I'm just, again, this is all reminders, folks. Most events we've seen have run, they're usually in the evening, and we've seen like a 6:30 to 8:30 or a 6 to 8, about 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half. You plan on families doing the science stuff for 45 minutes to an hour. And then you're going to have, you might have a game station as well. You might have families eat food. You might have prizes at the end. And we know families aren't all going to show up at 6 o'clock on the dot, right? This is kind of an open house. Some families will show up at 6, some will show up at 6:30, some at 7. So maybe if your whole event is open for 2 hours, I think that would be the maximum we would suggest. Looking at, you see the passports here. We are going to ask that you send in 3 things at the end to help us make these events better. One of them are the surveys. We've already looked at that. Another one, we're going to ask that you send in 5 photos. And then the third one is the PTA leader feedback form. When you send in the photos, please, 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 please make sure everyone has signed the photo release form. And the photo release form, it's available on our website. But the reason the photo release form, that means that we can actually use those photos afterwards to say, hey, this is a great school, and here's a photo, we can actually use your photos. We have a photo release form in our toolkit. Okay, we're moving quickly. There's one of my favorite photos again, 20-minute warning. This is all thanking everyone. We've got some questions already. Are you near a Bayer? If you are near a Bayer, like for example, if you are in one of the sites and there are different sites around the United States, if you know there's a Bayer local, feel free to call them and ask for their community engagement person. You can go ahead and do that now. But we will follow up with you in January to link you with somebody as well to make sure that connection does not get mixed. Here's just the the rules that we said about working with community partners. Media thoughts. Alyssa's going to tell us a little bit about this because it is important, and we're almost done.
So we were talking before about connecting with the media. So there are a couple of ways to do that. I know that some PTAs want to make sure that they're doing this the right way, and we want to help you do that. So there's press releases for both the $1,000 local winners and the $3,000 district council regional winners. So you can use those releases to just drop in your your PTA's information and send it off. And you'll see we have an example from Boots in Schools, and this is for this grant itself. So they sent off a press release to their local papers, and this is a little example of just a blurb that their local media used to talk about them winning this grant. So we think it's great that you guys are sharing those types of things. We want to encourage you to do more of that if you haven't done it already. So also for the day of, to contact local press through the media advisory to come. And in order to do these things successfully, you do need to have a signed media release and photo consent document. So if we look at the next slide, that's a screenshot of what the photo release will look like. And I know a lot of schools, I was a teacher myself as well, have a generic photo release that parents sign at the beginning. Unfortunately, those photo releases wouldn't cover this type of event because of the sponsorship of the corporate sponsor. So that's why we're asking for this separate form to be filled out and signed. That way we can use these photos to really share your success far and wide.
And I'm responding to some questions that might be helpful for everyone just to take a look at down there. I'm trying to make my response available to all, so feel free to check it. You each should have gotten, in addition to the Think Fun games, everybody should have gotten, I think everybody?
This will still take more time, Sean. So this, right now we've received your award letter in W-9. It is in our accounts payable department for processing. It generally takes them about 6 weeks after they receive it. So you all will be receiving your $800 stipends within the middle to end of January.
Okay, and so that's the first 800. The ACH is optional, right? That's if you wanted to do an electronic bank transfer. You don't have to do that. We send checks as well. And then the last $200, this is just, here's a reminder, folks, because we want to get better, so just you complete the grant cycle. When you send in the surveys, 5 pictures. You can take those with your iPhone. And the PTA leader feedback form will be online. All right, so I'm getting a lot. Oh, good point, Carrie. No for-profit companies can be involved. How does that work with Kohl's Cares? And that is important because Kohl's Cares, Kohl's has a specific outreach program where their employees go and volunteer. And they do that for volunteer hours. They're not promoting, they're not doing a science or STEM event, or they weren't, bringing a Kohl's message. It was simply, if it's simply a service, like volunteer service or community service, then yes, other companies or corporations may donate employees. Thanks for clarifying that. Kohl's could not come in and have, even if I don't know how ridiculous this is, but the science behind our jackets or the science, like they couldn't do anything like that. But if they wanted to help staff the event and that's it, and just wear Kohl's shirts, that is absolutely acceptable. That, ladies and gentlemen, we're done with the local events. We are going to, so I need the states, district, and regions to stay on for another 10 minutes, please. Let me quickly, we are going to send each of you a PowerPoint.
So the PowerPoint, unfortunately, is going to be too large for us to send via email. It will be posted in the toolkit, so we will add it in on the step number 2, the planning step. And we will also post the link to, and I can email out the link to this video of the webinar.
Yep, because this is going to get converted into a YouTube, so everybody can, when you're looking for a little motivation and you're like, this science festival is going to be awesome, let me watch this webinar for the 10th time. Boom, be right there on YouTube. All right, we will also post YouTube link, and again, if you have any question that didn't get answered, feel free to hit up Alyssa. You've got her email right here. Hopefully everyone can see the questions and answers, and you'll see those afterwards. If not, if there's anything you're unclear of, that's what we're here for, folks. We are here to make this as smooth a process as possible. Okay. Thank you very much for listening. We went quickly. Hopefully you feel like you've got all the information. You might have some questions, and you might be thinking there's a lot to juggle right now, but hopefully you feel like you're in a good place. We are now going to shift to the district, region, state part only. Other people are welcome to listen, but I don't want to confuse you. So this is there were 5 recipients of the district, region, and state Bayer grants, and we're transitioning to that part of the webinar only. So first, Alyssa's going to tell us about we called them state requirements. Technically, it is district, region, or state, and here were the requirements you had when you won the grant.
So just to review, instead of the one, you will be hosting 2 science festivals in partnership with local PTAs. So everything that we talked about before will apply for those 2 local events. And then the new thing that's completely separate is to present a STEM Plus Families workshop during your state convention. And we just also want to point out that you'll need to be gathering a minimum of 5 photos from each of those events for a total of 15 pictures.
Okay, so your convention proposal, what you need to be thinking about as a district, region, or state, figure out when is your state convention, right? I mean, we know some of them are in the summer, we know some are fall, they're spread out throughout the year. So look ahead, is your 2018 state convention, is it still, are proposals still being accepted? And then who on your team, some people have 1 person that's leading the STEM work, other people have 2 or 3, who's going to lead the presentation? And then finally, how can we help? Like I said, we will send you this PowerPoint. We have handy dandy STEM experiences and materials, hands-on activities. How can we help? You know, each of the district, regions, and councils, you're going to get $1,000 worth of materials. So you're going to get the 400 pack for each of the 2 sites that you're working in, and then we've got an extra $200 to send you materials. We can send that for your state convention. So, but it is up to you. It is up to each of our 5 winners here. You should designate someone who is going to write that proposal right now, or look into when proposals are due.
And there were some really very, very interesting things that you all are thinking about doing within the STEM realm inside your state. And we can't wait to see how you're going to share that out with your local PTAs within your region. And we can't wait to learn from you either.
Yeah, that's a great point, Alyssa. Feel free to use your application that you won the grant with, because we were really impressed with those. And in terms of what is the objective of your proposal, it's to share out how you led a science festival night. So you can use this webinar, you can use the PowerPoint. The goal is at your state convention, in Ohio, in Oklahoma, in North Carolina, we want you to share out so that other local PTAs, maybe who didn't win the grant, they can say, oh, wait, I could do a science festival, and oh, all these resources are out there. Like, you are going to be leading a movement and helping promote STEM in your state. And we think that's pretty powerful, and we're really impressed with your application and suggestions around how you could lead this work. We had a couple of questions around, well, I'm a state, district, region. I have to do 3 things. I have to do the state convention. Okay, I'm going to look up the proposal process. I also have to do 2 events. How do I make 2 events happen in my region? Some of you have established relationships with local PTAs. You already know which ones you want to be in. Others of you are thinking, there are so many PTAs that would be great for this. How do I pick them? You know, we are happy to serve as a sounding board, but it's up to you. You could even do a call for applications if you want. You could look around and say, what PTAs have, they could really make sure to get 10 to 15 volunteers to show up. What PTAs are in most need, like where is there a STEM gap? Are there schools that are really low socioeconomic status that don't have a lot of STEM programming where this would make a difference? Are there schools in neighborhoods where this would bring a lot of people? So it really is up to you. We're happy to brainstorm. I don't want to spend too much time here because I know some PTAs, some of the district, region, state winners already have PTAs in mind. But we are happy to brainstorm on that with you. When you approach those PTAs, if there's any hesitation, you should feel free to share the benefits, right? I mean, each of us is getting $3,000, and the goal would be you would share some of that wealth. You would cover the food, the prizes maybe you would cover transportation for that local event. Maybe you could staff it. You could use this PowerPoint to help present, any of those things. I'm sure, again, I think some of you have PTAs in mind and you're already fully committed to supporting them and covering their costs, but just some things to think about. Ways to support your local event?
So in supporting your local event, so some of the stuff that Sean was talking about and expanding on it, again, getting state regional staff to attend or even help source volunteers at a larger regional level. You might have access to things that they don't have at the local level. You can also help with any staff that you have to promote, to send the emails. You might even have media connections that the local PTA doesn't have to make sure that you're sharing those things in promotion and advertising. So you also want to look at the materials that the PTAs will need to source and help to gather those as well. And then, I mean, as Sean was saying, you can offer yourself to staff stations or provide food and prizes.
And thank you very much, all. We are just about to land this plane, or as someone caused a lot of puzzlement in me. I taught in Louisiana for 2 years, and the expression, one of the many colorful expressions I learned down there was they said, "For the love of Pete, would you put the gravy on the biscuit?" And I think I now know what that means. It means, can we wrap this up? Here are the same links as earlier, pta.org/STEM, our toolkit, Alyssa's email, our phone number. Let's take a quick look through these questions, Alyssa, and see if there's anything. So Oklahoma had 9 PTAs apply to be host sites. That is awesome, Oklahoma. So one thing, Oklahoma, you might want to decide, do you have enough resources to support more than 2 events? Or do some of those PTAs, do they have a budget themselves where they could help support some of the events, and you could support with the materials and you could do the training, but maybe they could cover the cost of materials and prizes and food themselves. That's something to think about. Any other questions? We will take them. If anyone's got anything they want to put online, we are delighted. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. One is doing a smaller festival as a giveaway for state convention. Love that in Oklahoma. Can you host a festival as early as February 10th? Or will we have materials to them by then?
If you have sent me the date as already being February 10th, we are prepared for that date.
Yeah, so that's something, thank you, Alyssa. Everyone, if you have not, once you've got the dates for your events, please send them to us ASAP. One reason, you just heard, Alyssa, we are prioritizing sending materials to PTAs that give us early dates. So, Susan, if you know you're doing it February 10th, make sure that you've sent it to Alyssa, and if not, do it today, and we will get those materials out. We'll put you in early in the queue. Are experiments suitable for elementary and middle schools? Absolutely. I would say I wouldn't go higher, Lori, than probably 7th or 8th grade. I mean, they really are. It's sort of the sweet spot is maybe 4th to 7th. And some of the experiments are a little cooler for different age groups. You know, we've got the Alka-Seltzer rockets. I mean, heck, well, I'm probably not a good gauge because I love doing all this stuff. But, you know, you shake up some Alka-Seltzer in a film canister and then it shoots up and you can see how high it can shoot. That's appealing to everybody. Some of the other ones around running colors on a coffee filter, dancing, I mean, making raisins dance, I think that's pretty cool for anybody. But I wouldn't go much past 7th grade. And then I probably wouldn't go, I mean, it might appeal to 1st and 2nd graders, but they might not get any of the science behind it. Yes, Julie is asking, do you get 6 Think Fun games? Yes, you do, Julie. Here's what happens. They are on the way. Did we send them to the mailing address?
They were on, when you sent in the award letter, if you told me you needed to update your mailing address, it was updated. Otherwise, we used the mailing address from your application.
And they got 2 sets of 6 Think Fun games. 1 for each school? 1 for each event?
The states?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. So if you do not have, Lori did, okay, great. Lori received the game. We see some people engaged. Each district, state, region, which is the people still on the call, you should have received 2 sets of Think Fun games, 2 sets of the 6. Again, if you haven't, let us know. We can update, make sure you're watching, you know, if you got it delivered to the school, make sure you're checking out.
And I just wanted to circle back on stuff that Sean was just talking about. If you wanted to include high school students in these events, it is a great opportunity for volunteers from high schools, if it's Key Club, if it's the Honor Society. The facilitators' guides are written in a language that would be really easy for them even to understand if you were looking for high school students to be the people who run the stations.
Okay. And now I'm really going to put the gravy on the biscuit. And that's it, everybody. We really appreciate you sticking with us. We're really excited about this. Like Alyssa and I put in a lot of work into this, but we're really excited about STEM Plus Families. Can't wait to see pictures and hear stories about your events. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. That's what we're here for. And we look forward to y'all getting these events off the ground in March, well, January possibly, but February, March, April, May, June in 2018. All right, everybody, happy holidays from the National PTA. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day.